Oi, gente, hoje eu tenho mais um convidado aqui no canal. Este é o Gavin.
Oi, gente, tudo bem?
A gente tá falando em português, mas a gente já vai falar inglês. Só pra começar.
Bom, então, eu tenho um canal no YouTube que se chama Small Advantages. Claro que eu sou falante nativo de inglês, mas eu gosto de oferecer dicas de inglês como americano, tá? Então, com pronúncia, dicas de gramática, coisas assim.
Repete o nome do canal, por favor.
É Small Advantages, ou um pouco mais rápido, é Small Advantages.
Viu como eu não tô mentindo? O americano tira o T depois da nasal. Então não é advantages.
Isso, Small Advantages.
Viu? Não menti.
Não percebi também.
E se vocês não tiverem a oportunidade de praticar inglês, assim como a gente vai fazer agora, né? Se vocês não encontrarem um falante nativo aqui no Brasil, é só entrar no iTalk, que é aquela plataforma que eu venho recomendando nos meus vídeos. O Gavin também faz parte, né?
Eu gosto muito dessa plataforma para interagir, como compartilhar essa cultura com outros, assim, falantes de outras línguas, tá?
E se vocês comprarem uma aula aqui pelo meu link, vocês ganham uma outra free. Então, vou deixar o link aqui na descrição. So I think you could start talking about yourself. So where are you from?
Sure.
And what do you do?
Yeah, so my name's Gavin, like I said, I'm 27 years old, and I live in Colorado. I'm actually a student, a PhD student in meteorology, atmospheric science. And I also love Portuguese. I've been teaching myself Portuguese for the last 3 years or so. And when I graduate, I want to be a translator of Portuguese into English. So that's why I've kind of kept up both the science side and the language side.
Yeah, and why did you choose Portuguese and not any other language?
So I studied Spanish for 8 years, and I became a master's student. Believe it or not, I had a little more free time then as a master's student, and I decided, hey, I want to learn a new language. And clearly Spanish and Portuguese are pretty close to each other. And I decided that I was going to start learning Portuguese in preparation for going to the World Cup in 2014.
Did you come here?
I did. I went to just one game in Salvador with 6 other friends, so I had the first opportunity of being like a interpreter for Portuguese into English, and that was a crazy experience, but I loved it.
Yeah, and many people ask me, so how should I start studying English? So how did you start learning Portuguese? What was your first step?
Okay, well, actually, this is a funny story because I remember the very first word I learned in Portuguese, which was back in 2010. I had a friend from Brazil at my undergraduate university, Universidade de Graduação.
Because in English it's undergraduate.
That's right. That always confuses me in Portuguese.
Graduação is undergraduate.
That's right. Yeah. So my undergraduate, and he was a Brazilian, and it was his birthday. And I wanted to learn how to say happy birthday, so parabéns was my first word. But actually, I started learning Portuguese then with, more specifically, using first livro didático, a textbook for English native speakers who are familiar with Spanish who want to learn Portuguese. So from there I did that, and I also listened to a lot of podcasts and a lot of language lessons because every day I ride 20 minutes to work, 20 minutes back on bike. And so I have some free time to be listening to all these audio lessons of Portuguese.
And did you understand things like from the beginning? Like, let me listen to Portuguese. Okay, I got it.
No, definitely not. And that was part of the challenge, and that was why it was fun, because sometimes I would have no idea what they were saying. And that's part of learning a language, is you're gonna have these times where you're completely lost, and I used to be a perfectionist actually before starting to learn a language, and you just learn to accept that you're not gonna understand everything, and you try the best you can, keep improving.
That's it. And what do you do to practice the language nowadays? Now you know the language, and how do you do? Because you live in the States, right?
Right,
you don't live here.
So I won't talk about, because clearly right now I'm in Brazil for a little bit, so my day-to-day is different. Back in the United States, normally I would say I practice about 1.5 to 2 hours a day. And
every day?
Every day. And when I say practice, it's not like I'm sitting down and it's really forcing myself to do it or concentrating really hard. No, it's fun. So it's, you do stuff to keep you motivated with the language. So for example, I love listening to Brazilian music, and that keeps me motivated with the language. I'll have the radio on in the background when I'm working. I work with CBN or podcast. I love
podcast.
Podcast. I love podcasts like Nerdcast, Dragões de Garage,
so I don't know Dragões de Garage, just Nerdcast.
Okay.
Yeah, I love
it. It helps me just to kind of pick up a little more of the way that Brazilians speak.
Yeah.
And then so I like to practice music on guitar, learning Portuguese, and I study in textbooks and stuff too, some grammar. But I would say that focused study of grammar and coisas chatas, that's only like 15 to 20 minutes a day.
Okay, but you need to learn to write well too, so that's
right.
why you need to make a balance of everything.
That's right. That's exactly right. And keep it fun, but keep, have a balance.
Yeah. And what's your favorite type of Brazilian music? Do you like samba or funk? I don't know what. Oh,
funk? No, na verdade. I like music from the 60s and 70s from Brazil. I usually like to listen to stations on Pandora or Google Play with that type of music.
So, give us an example.
Gosh, like Chico Buarque, Secos e Molhados, Gilberto Gil. There's just so many.
And you know Legião Urbana too,
Legião
right?
Urbana, yeah.
He's trying to sing Faroeste Caboclo. How can you memorize that?
So that was another whole lesson in Portuguese. So I talked about a little bit about how I learned Portuguese. And that was just, every day I'd practice maybe 15, 20 minutes on guitar, trying to learn a little bit more of Faroeste Caboclo. And I learned a lot of slang. I learned a lot of slang and stuff, and it was great, And I arrived in now I know 10 minutes of a wonderful Legião Urbana song.
And you have a very nice video with your wife, actually, in which you mentioned 20 difficult words in English for Brazilians to learn. Can you mention some of them for us and teach them? Do you remember?
I actually don't remember. It's been a long time. So one word in particular is still, ainda, still. And so Brazilians like to say still. Yeah. So with the TI like chi and the LL like w.
Because we say legal and not legal.
Exactly, and it completely makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's a really good word to practice because you'll take away two very accent-producing sounds and leave it a lot better for all the other words that you pronounce like that. So still.
Okay, good.
And then, classic ones like Facebook, LinkedIn.
It's because we don't have this type of syllable in English. Now, talking as a language, a linguist, we don't have like k or p at the end of syllable.
Right,
so we insert a vowel.
Yeah.
So
WhatsApp.
hot dog, hot dog.
Hot dog.
Facebook, Facebook.
Oh, another one was Titanic.
Titanic.
I laughed so hard.
I heard, you talked about Titanic, I heard a Japanese girl mentioning Leonardo DiCaprio. How do you say in English?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, and she said Leonardo DiCaprio, so something like this. So they insert vowels there
They do too, like they say pico-nico for piquenique,
That's it.
Picnic.
Yeah, so we insert an I, right?
Right.
And they insert a U or something like that. So it's perfectly normal. We're not dumb for that, okay?
Right, no, definitely not.
And what are some words in Portuguese that you think they are really hard for you?
Oh my gosh, visualização, really hard.
Visualização.
Like the person who deals the cards. Distribuidor. That's a really difficult word for me.
Because of the tr, probably.
Distribuidor. Yeah.
Distribuidor.
Yeah, it could be.
And have you ever been misunderstood because of the language?
Almost every day. Usually they're not besteiras, like terrible things. It's just that, like, one time my friend asked me, I asked him if he wanted to go to the burgueria with me, and he said that he would only go if I would lend him some money. Like, I didn't understand. Usually the errors of me understanding. So I thought he said he can't go because he doesn't have any money. So I said, oh, that's too bad. Like, like, I'm not going to lend him money, But then he's like, he reacted weird, and then I clarified and realized, oh, I misunderstood. Okay, yes, of course I'll lend you money to go. So little things like that, and usually when you're talking with friends, it's not a big deal. They understand you're learning.
And what differences did you notice in learning Portuguese in the USA and learning English here? Portuguese, sorry, not English.
Yeah. Well, no one speaks English here. No, let's see, I think it's really great to be speaking Portuguese here because I'm picking up the ways that Brazilians interact really quickly and face to face. So before it was always the very set things in a book or on a podcast.
Desculpe. And then you were on the bus and somebody said scoop.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Licença. People are, I don't know. It's just cutting phrases and stuff. Brazilians during conversations do something that Americans don't do during conversations, and I'm kind of picking up that jeito. And they interact like they're nodding their head. They're saying tá, entendi.
But this is something paulistas do.
Oh, because is it? Because you're gaúcha.
Yeah,
they don't do that.
I'm Gaúcha. Like entendi. So the first time I was like, okay, you got it. All right.
Okay. Because in the United States, you'll be telling someone a story, and they'll be sitting there just.
No, it's not.
Listening, you know, and like they're understanding everything and they're maybe agreeing with you, but they're not going to show it or say it. Here in Brazil, maybe just São Paulo, you guys interact a lot during the conversation. So that's another thing that as I'm learning, I'm kind of picking up that.
No,
that way of
I think we do this in Rio Grande do Sul too, but I'm talking about the specific word entendi.
Yeah,
entendi.
Or tipo like, é mesmo, verdade.
You don't do this in English.
Rarely. Like when I first started interacting with people, I was like, would pause when I was telling them stories because it almost in my mind seems like they're interrupting me, you know? And now I realize that's just the way that the Brazilians interact.
And is it true that you don't like touching people very much?
Yeah, that's absolutely true, you know, and that's something that's new for me. I actually prefer, like being in Brazil, I'm loving like the way that you know, people greet each other with abraços and beijos. Yeah, absolutely.
You don't feel weird?
No, I don't feel weird. I have traveled a little bit before, and like when I was in Peru, for example, I thought that was really strange that they did that. But now I really like it. Like it's a more caring way of kind of interacting.
Yeah, because I see in movies sometimes people just say, "Oh, goodbye, Dad," like forever and goodbye.
Yeah.
Handshake. Oh my God.
See ya.
Yeah, see ya.
Or someone like a good friend arrives at a bar and just like, hey.
Yeah.
You know? And I love that it's just like very, very familiar.
I like this too.
Yeah.
So I would like you to mention something good and something bad about Brazil.
Definitely the best thing about Brazil is how, I already mentioned it a little bit, but how caring and how friendly everyone is. And
really
especially,
welcoming.
Yeah, really welcoming. And for example, I know a lot of my friends are trying to learn English and speak English very well, but they realize that I'm in Brazil to work on my Portuguese. So in a lot of other countries where Americans will go, they only want to practice English with you. But I appreciate that people want to practice Portuguese with me. But besides that, just everyone's really, really helpful, really caring. You know, even like waiters, waitresses, or, you know, bus drivers will help you if you need it. And it's just, I don't know, I think Americans are very used to getting kind of a cold shoulder from a lot of...
Give a cold shoulder.
Give a cold shoulder. Sorry, idiomatic phrase.
Yeah.
But to Americans, and I just really appreciate how friendly and how excited and animated Brazilians are. A bad thing, on my channel, I receive, and sometimes talking to Brazilians, I receive a lot of comments about Brazilians who hate their own country, only complain about the politics, say they wish they could trade places and be in the United States. And I understand some of those sentiments, but I mean, I feel like the United States has their own problems too.
Sure.
And
different problems.
It's just different problems, and like I just really dislike when people hate their own country so much, and you know, there are Americans who do that too, and I really dislike that. And so I wish that Brazilians would sometimes have more confidence, you know, just in love. And I've met plenty of Brazilians who love their country too.
Yeah, I love my country.
Yeah,
I just don't like the
Brazil.
violence.
Yeah.
This is
that's a Brazilian problem.
Yeah,
for
this
sure.
is a big Brazilian problem. So this
Yeah.
is something that I felt in London. I felt so safe all the time. So, and in Brazil, I have to be careful all the time. Maybe in the States too, some places, right?
Yeah.
You have to be careful.
Yeah.
Too.
I mean, absolutely. It depends
Everywhere,
on.
actually.
Yeah,
But
especially big cities like New
Yeah.
York. There are neighborhoods that are terrible,
Yeah.
you know, but. I don't know, you just have to learn that. And one other thing I want to mention is you had an interview with Emil Green, with Seth Kugel.
I'll leave the link around.
Yeah,
if you
and
want
I
to.
really liked it because there was a part that he mentioned that when he was learning Portuguese, or you asked him how it was that he wanted to continue to learn Portuguese, and he said that when he was learning, he didn't want to just kind of know Portuguese. He wanted to know Portuguese well. That's kind of the point of learning languages, to be able to interact with speakers, you know? So he said that kept motivating him, and I really liked how he said that because I don't want to just kind of like know some phrases and know a little bit about conjugation in Portuguese. I want to be able to speak almost perfectly. And of course, that's going to involve many errors over time. But
And
that's
some
good
time also.
motivation.
It takes some time.
Plenty of time. You know,
Yeah.
it's not magic. It doesn't happen
No.
overnight.
I've been studying English for about 10 years now, and of course I want to be perfect, I want to be the best, but I still have an accent, you know, but I've been trying and...
Barely. Like, you're like really, really good.
Oh, thank you.
Probably the best Brazilian speaking English that I've ever heard.
Yeah,
So.
I rock.
Yeah.
Menos,
Rock on.
menos. Assim que a gente fala, menos.
Man. I like that.
Well, thank you, and your Portuguese
Thank
is
you.
really good too. So
Obrigado.
for 3 years, oh my God, it's amazing. It's
I
amazing.
still have plenty of room to improve, but I'm excited, so thank you.
E eu espero que vocês tenham gostado desse vídeo, espero que tenham entendido, né? Assistam mais de uma vez, se necessário, né, pra entender o inglês do Gavin. Ele me perguntou no começo, eu devo falar devagar ou normal? Ele disse, fala normal.
Gente, isso foi normal
Isso
pra
foi
mim,
o normal.
tá?
Então, se você entendeu, haha.
Legal,
Tá
parabéns. Aham. Também a gente tem outro vídeo,
verdade.
tipo um quiz show no seu canal.
Isso.
Isso foi muito engraçado, amigo, sobre tipo gíria, assim,
Isso.
inglês e português.
A gente se testou, ver o que a
Exatamente.
gente conhecia.
Exatamente, isso ficou muito
E no
engraçado.
canal do Gavin eu também fui entrevistada. Era essa
É verdade. Então, em português, eu queria saber um pouco mais da aprendizagem da Carina do inglês. Então, o vídeo fica em português.
Isso, e eu vou deixar todos os links aqui na
Isso.
descrição.
Muito legal.
E se inscrevam nos nossos canais, porque a gente tá sempre dando dicas de inglês de graça aí,
mesmo,
né? A gente
é.
se esforça bastante pra trazer conteúdo de qualidade.
Se você gostou, dá uma like.
Dá um joinha aí, dá um like.
Joinha.
See you next video and bye!
See you guys.